Let us illuminate the majlis with a recitation of a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'd like to begin firstly by congratulating you all on this auspicious occasion of the birth of our 12th Imam, the awaited Savior, Imam al-Mahdi, ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. May Allah hasten his reappearance and grant us to be amongst him when he does reappear as his servants and on his army. Imam al-Mahdi was born on the 15th of Sha'ban, and his birth wasn't an ordinary birth. The mother of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam did not show any signs of pregnancy. Similarly to the mother of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, it wasn't obvious and she didn't appear to be pregnant. For Nabi Musa alayhi salam at the time, Fir'aun heard of the prophecy that a man will be born in your generation and he will be the one to overthrow your kingdom. And so because of that, every pregnant woman he saw, he would capture. He ordered to capture every pregnant woman and to kill their newborn baby when they are born. So because of this, it was a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the mother of Nabi Musa did not show any signs of pregnancy. And so when Nabi Musa was born, she put him into the river and he found his way to the house of Fir'aun. And that was the order of Allah and the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the man who will overthrow his kingdom is raised in his house. So similarly, in the time of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, they had heard of the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa saying that the 12th Imam after me, he shares my name and he will come and he will return justice to this world. يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضَ عَدْلًا وَقِسْطًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا. He will establish justice and peace in this earth the same way it is filled with injustice and oppression. And so he was born on the 15th of Sha'ban, a miraculous birth. And 5 years later after his birth, his father, Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, passed away. And he became the Imam. Imam al-Mahdi was the Imam at the age of 5 years old. As soon as he prayed the salah on his father, he went into his occultation, and into his ghaybat al-sughra, the minor occultation. Now this was the minor occultation because he still had representatives who were in touch with him. So there was still an indirect communication with the Imam. They would speak through the representatives. He assigned representatives, one after the other. When one would pass away, he would assign another one. And so the second one goes, the third he assigns, up until 4 representatives. And then the 4th representative, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, writes to him. And he tells him, his name was Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari. He writes to him and he tells him, you have 6 days left until you die. And so he's telling him to prepare, that your death is soon. And he tells him, pay your dues, pay your fees before you die. And then he says, this time I'm not going to request for you to elect a representative after me. This was 70 years after the beginning of his minor occultation. He announces his major occultation. When Ali ibn Muhammad passes away, the Imam is now in his major occultation, and it begins and it has lasted till today, where the Imam we do not have any communication with the Imam. There's no communication between any of his. There's no representative on here to communicate with the Imam alayhi salam. So the question arises is, why did he go into occultation? What made the Imam alayhi salam go into occultation? During the time of the Imam, one of the representatives, what they would do is they would write to the Imam. That's how they would speak to him. They would gather questions, they would list the questions, and then they would send it to the Imam to hear back from him. So we have some of these responses from the Imam alayhi salam. In one of the responses, they asked him, why did you go into occultation? What made you go into this ghaibah? And he responded with a beautiful verse, and he says, the verse of the Holy Quran where it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبد لكم تسؤكم. O you who believe, don't ask about things that if they were revealed to you and concealed to you, they would harm you. They would displease you. You won't like them. The Imam alayhi salam is basically giving us the first answer to the question, is that it's in the hands of Allah. That's the simple answer, is that for us, it might be better for us not to know why the Imam is in occultation. This verse also reminds us that there are things in this world that happen, that occur, that it's better for us not to know about. When we learn about something, it's better not to persist and to ask. The time this verse was revealed, Rasulullah was giving a sermon, and he spoke about Hajj. He mentioned that Hajj was obligatory upon you. A man asked him, he raised his hand, he asked him a question. He told him, are you telling us that Hajj is obligatory upon us every year? The Prophet heard this question and he deflected it. He didn't answer it directly. He continued to ask. The man continued, he repeated his question. He asked again. Once again, the Prophet came again and he didn't answer the question directly. The man continued to persist to ask the question until the Prophet responded to him. He told him, why are you persistent? Why do you keep asking me? If I'm not answering you, it's better for you. If I were to tell you that yes, it becomes wajib on you every single year, then that means it's more difficult for you and it becomes haram on you if you missed your Hajj. So if it's unclear to you, if I'm not clearly answering the question, then the answer is better that you don't know. So this is an example for us that certain matters, it's better for us not to persist and continue to ask. We should take what we know. That's the first reason. The second, so possible reasons and explanations are mentioned. Sayyid Sadiq, Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi mentions in his book. He has a book called Abir al-Rahmah, The Aroma of Mercy. It's translated in English. It's a very beautiful book that I recommend everyone to read. It's about Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, and it's very important for us to connect with the Imam and to build a relationship with the Imam by learning about him. Of course, we've heard the hadith and the narrations that if we die without knowing the Imam of our time, we are dying a death of ignorance. So it's also our obligation to research and to learn about the Imam. The Sayyid mentions a point. He says there are few possible explanations as to why the Imam went into this occultation. He says the first is that the Imam went into this occultation to preserve his life. To preserve the life of Imam al-Mahdi, he went into this occultation. We've seen in the history from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa all the way down to Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, one after the other they were either poisoned or they were killed. The regime of the time, the cruel, corrupt leaders at the time, they would not allow the Imam to be alive. And so it's inevitable that if the Imam was alive and well amongst the people, that he would be killed as well. And we also know that there has to be an Imam among us. There has to be an Imam somewhere. So to preserve his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him into occultation. Now someone might ask, okay, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to be able to preserve his life even if he's among the community. Why would he have to make him hidden from the eyes of the believers to keep him alive? The answer to that is the second point he mentions, which is that it's for us as a test and as a challenge. Imagine if the Imam was alive and everyone attempting to kill him and assassinate him would fail. They'll understand, every human being in this world will realize that he's invincible, that this is a divine power. So it becomes easy for everyone. That's confusing for the topic of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has built this world with the free will. If he were to be invincible, then there's no free will. There's no test for us to be able to actually find differentiate the good between the evil. So it's for us and as a challenge for us to be able to believe in the unseen without actually seeing the Imam. The Sayyid mentions an analogy. He says, imagine it's just like the professor giving the answers to the test before he hands you the test. If it's so obvious that the Imam is among us, then how do we build our character? How do we become better? So it's a test and a challenge for us to believe in the unseen. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he goes into his occultation as a form of preserving his life, as well as to test us, the believers of the time, to be able to believe in the Imam even though we're not able to communicate with him. Now many ask, how is the Imam playing the role of an Imam today? How is he impacting us? We all know that there's always, at every moment of our life, there's 4 forces acting upon us. There's 2 internal forces and 2 external forces. The internal forces are the aql, the intellect, and the nafs al-lawama, the soul that is prone to sin. And then we know that the external forces are the shaitan, who tries to make us, tempt us to go and do haram and to sin. And then we have the Imam, who plays the other role. It's the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the Imam will be the one who guides us. So how is the Imam guiding us? What is the Imam doing today that's guiding us? That we can be comfortable to know that he is truly fulfilling his role. The answer isn't as simple. I can explain to you a story and tell you, yeah, he's managing the affairs of the ummah and he's, signing off on every fatwa that the marja' does. No, it's not that simple. The Imam is in an occultation for a reason. So, the first is mentioned in a hadith, that same list that he mentioned. They asked him that exact question. They said, how can we benefit from you? Oh, Imam al-Mahdi, how can we benefit from you in your occultation? And he responds the same way some of his fathers from the Ahlul Bayt, they also mention this hadith. They say that the Imam al-Mahdi will benefit the people of his time the same way the sun benefits the human beings even on a cloudy day. So even when there's clouds, the sun is still lighting the earth. There's still light, regardless of the clouds. We can't see the sun, but we can see light. There's still light, and there's brightness for us. So the same way that happens, the Imam is also helping us and benefiting us indirectly. So he does help in the affairs of the believers, and he does impact us when we need him and when we call for him. It's our obligation to build a relationship with the Imam, to be able to have him respond to us when we're in need. There's a beautiful story of the Imam intervening for a man who was in need. There was a man back 40, 50 years ago, maybe longer. He was a scholar by the name of Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim al-Qazwini. He was the wakil of Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi at the time, and he would distribute the salaries for the Hawza students. So the Hawza students would be reliant on him to get their payroll, their salary. And they needed a salary, they needed the basic necessities of life. They would be paid through him. So he was in charge of this salary, and the beginning of the month he'd have to give it. One day the beginning of the month was approaching, the next day was the beginning of the month, and he had to give the salary, and the Sayyid didn't have the money. He couldn't afford to pay this salary for the students. And so he said, I tried, I attempted, I went into asking people for a loan, at least even a loan, and I couldn't get a loan. It was not coming to me. So what did he do? He went and he wrote a letter to Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. He wrote a letter and he begged the Imam. He told him of his situation. He told him, I am in need of this money and I am asking you as a last resort. I have attempted every other resort and I can't find anything and I need your help. And this isn't just for me. This is for the students, the knowledge seekers, those who are here to seek knowledge, to represent you. He signs this letter and he puts it into the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And he goes home. The next day he wakes up for Fajr. As soon as he prays Salat al-Fajr, he hears a knock on the door. He goes to open the door, and it's a businessman from Baghdad. And he tells him, here you go, I have money. I just thought of coming to give you this money, and here it is. Suddenly. So the man was shocked. The Sayyid, his face changed, complexion. And he told the Imam, he thanked the Imam. He said, you didn't even wait until sunrise to bring the money to me? The man was confused. He's like, what's going on? What do you mean? So he explained to him the story. He told him of his circumstances, and the man began to cry, this businessman. He began to cry knowing that the Imam used him as a wasila for him. He used him as a means to send his money to this man. The money was exactly the same amount that the Sayyid needed. Exactly to the dot how much the Sayyid was in need to pay the salaries. Not a single dollar extra and not a single dollar less. So the Imam does come to us. He does help us and aid us in our affairs. It's our job to be there when we're build a relationship with Him so that He's there for us. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So what's beautiful about this situation, about this story specifically, is that the man just had a thought. Where did this thought come from? Are we going to assume that he created this thought, or it just happened to be and it's just random, it's luck? It's absolutely not luck. This is the Imam, and this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervening as well. There's a beautiful hadith. Imam Ali alayhi salam was asked, how do you know your Lord? Normally a question like this is raised, you'll get a theoretical answer, a theological answer. Imam Ali alayhi salam responded beautifully. He said, بِفَسْخِ الْعَزَائِمِ, I know of Allah from the cancellation of events. He says, I plan an event, or I plan a situation, and I plan my day, and the plan goes astray, completely changes. It's not the way I planned it to be. It's a whole different circumstance, and it doesn't go how I expected it to. He says, when this happens, this is an example that I know that I am not the one in charge, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the mudabbir. He is the one who's responsible for my affairs. So we need to think about it like that as well. That the same way the Imam will help us when we're in need, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, we understand that the affairs are changing, and the thoughts that come into our mind are not from us, they're not from ourselves. A lot of the times if something happens, we'll assume if it's a bad thing, we'll just start complaining. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing this to me? Why is this happening to me right now? But if it's a good thing, an idea pops into our head, it's a revolutionary idea, we changes the track in the course of our life, we forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We forget about the Imam of our time and how he is impacting to make us go down this path. At those moments, it's important for us to remember that the Imam is also here. He's aiding us. He's helping us in these circumstances. He's the one who's responsible, helping us in our lives. The same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing so through the Imam alayhi salam. A friend of mine told me this story, and this is an example of this situation. He told me I was driving and I was listening to Latmiyah, and while I'm listening to Latmiyah, I'm on my phone scrolling through my phone while he's driving. Now I don't recommend anyone do this. So he's doing this, and he's telling me he's doing this, and then he says that I heard this very nice line. The name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was in the line, and I wanted to listen to it properly, and I wanted to absorb this line. So I put my phone down. I put my phone down not to focus on the road. I put the phone down so I could listen to the line of poetry. As soon as I put the phone down, I passed an intersection, and there was a cop waiting at the intersection. When he told me this, he was laughing about it. He was saying it's just miraculous. I was like, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervening. This is the Imam intervening to protect you. Now, of course, don't use this as an example to use your phone and scroll through while you're driving. But this is an example that we can learn from. That the Imam is capable, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of intervening for us when we're in need of Him. And He does so to protect us and to safeguard us. So that's one way. It's the first method as to how the Imam is playing his role as an Imam. It's indirect. He does so indirectly, not directly. He does so in ways where we feel things and we listen to things. It's our job to allow allow the Imam to help us feel those things and to think such thoughts and to open our hearts to that. The second way that the Imam plays his role is that he gives us hope in this world. The Imam alayhi salam, just being in this world, is a sign of hope for us. He provides us with hope. He makes us learn to be steadfast. Imagine a realtor, for example. An analogy of a realtor. A realtor, what does he do? He goes and he purchases homes for a cheap price. And what he does is he renovates that home, he invests in that home, and then he sells it for a greater price so he can profit off of it. This realtor, he's investing, he's putting down a lot of money in the beginning. It's constant payments. He's not receiving anything until he sells the house that he makes, and he can make profit and cover the additional price that he paid for it. So imagine he's paying and he does so, and then he renovates the house. Before he can sell the house, an earthquake happens. And he doesn't have insurance, and he loses he has to start from the first stage and reset everything, and he has to renovate again. Let's say he renovates again this time, but this time he's renovating so that he doesn't, so he can break even, so he doesn't lose money. He's going to renovate again so he breaks even, and he's going to try to sell the house with the profits that he gets. Won't be a profit anymore. But now he has to, just to make the money back that he already spent. Let's say he does it again, and this time another natural disaster happens. A flood happens, and the house gets tarnished, and he can't sell it anymore. He's probably going to lose hope. He's going to give up on that house. He's not going to keep trying. He won't be persistent with the home. He's going to take his losses. He's going to learn from his mistake and not buy land on such brutal property that has natural disasters. And he's going to let it go. Now, let's say that this man was told, this realtor was told, that this property, when you build it, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, when he returns, he will be the one to stay in this property. Regardless of how many natural disasters happen, we're going to continue to build that house. For multiple reasons. The first reason is because we know that the Imam, we're getting his blessings just by building the house. So even if we lose the house, we're still investing in this world and in the next. So even if we lose the house and we don't win in this world, we're investing in the next world. We know that that investment that we're putting in is for preparation for the Imam. So we're getting blessings for that. And the second reason is because we also know that the Imam won't return if I leave the house like that. Where is he going to stay? If this is his home, where is he going to stay? So knowing that the Imam is staying in this home, I'm going to constantly be putting the investment and continue to put the investment so that I can hasten his reappearance. So I can prepare him to come, so he can come quicker. If he doesn't come quicker, it's my fault. I want him to come quicker. These are the thoughts that you're going to act as a realtor for this home. The Imam, knowing that he's coming back, we prepare and we want him to hasten his reappearance. We have to do it actively in this world by continuing to strive to build whatever it is that will prepare him to come and to arrive on time and quickly. To hasten his reappearance, we have to act actively. Yes, we should wait, and it's the greatest way. The greatest blessing is to wait for the Imam. But waiting doesn't mean passively sitting down waiting, doing nothing about it. Our job is to actively wait. Our job is to continually strive to prepare the Imam so that he can come with ease, and when he comes and he arrives, he has an army and he has support. One of the main reasons why the Imam is delayed is because he might not have supports. He doesn't have an army to be with him, to defend him, to protect him. This is also one of the main reasons why the different Imams went into war. Imam Ali alayhi salam, the narrations say, one of the main reasons why he didn't go into war was because he didn't have an army to defend him. Imam al-Hasan similarly, he didn't have support to defend him. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam had, even though he had just a few, he had something. And that just a few was enough to get the people to see the oppression that happens to these humans and say, why were they killed? Why were they standing up? What are they standing up for? To teach us this message that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam stood up for. So it's our job to have hope in the Imam and to persist and to carry on his legacy and his mission by being patient for his reappearance, but also working actively. The Imam alayhi salam wants people who are worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants people who are knowledge seekers, who seek knowledge and who spread that knowledge to the people, so that you can gather the people to come and to support the Imam alayhi salam when he reappears. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So it's our job to understand the role of the Imam, how he plays a role in reminding us and making us feel his presence and guiding us indirectly, as well as through hope that he will return and there will be peace and justice to this world. The same way I mentioned in the beginning, the ayah, the Holy Quran that says, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْأَئِمَّةَ وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. We want them to become leaders, those who are oppressed. We want them to become the leaders of the time. And we want them to have power and strength, and so that they are not left to be alone. And so it's our job to do such a thing by seeking a strong character, becoming strong with our character, with our akhlaq, with the way we communicate with people to allow the Imam to reappear. Let us raise our hands and pray for the haste Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of the holy Imam and bring justice to this world as it has been filled with injustice and tyranny. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kulli waliyaka al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaih. في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.